November 17, 1558. As dawn breaks over St. James's Palace in London, a dying queen breathes her last within darkened chambers, but her story is anything but ordinary. This is Mary Tudor, a monarch who ruled with ruthless fervor and fiery faith, orchestrating the deaths of over 300 Protestants in her quest to restore Catholicism to England. In her final hours, the kingdom she fought to save hovers on the brink of transformation, as the Protestant Elizabeth Mary's own blood stands ready to seize the throne. With her body ravaged and her reign crumbling, what secrets lie in the shadows of her demise? Join us as we explore the haunting tale of Mary Tudor's death, the extraordinary physical suffering, the desperate longing for an heir, and the chilling indifference of fate that intertwines her fate with the very sister she spent her life trying to overshadow. Picture this in November 17, 1558. Dawn breaks over St. James's Palace in London. In a darkened chamber lies a woman, frail and thin, a woman who once wielded power over England with an iron fist. This is Mary Tudor, Queen of England, and in just 2 hours she will breathe her last. Unlike any royal death chronicled in history, the servants who vigilantly watch over her door will not even notice when she slips away. The kingdom that once trembled at her command has all but abandoned her, and the irony of her fate looms large. For 5 tumultuous years, Mary fought valiantly, driven by a fiery zeal to reinstate Catholicism after the upheaval caused by her father, Henry VIII. In her quest to secure her legacy, she made the unthinkable decision to condemn over 300 Protestants to death by burning, an act that would immortalize her as Bloody Mary in the annals of history. Yet, as she lies there, at the age of 42, she is a prisoner of her own failing body, a body that has betrayed her in ways more severe than the brutal standards of Tudor medicine could fathom. To understand the horror of her final days, we must delve deep into the life of Mary Tudor, a life marked by struggle, loss, and relentless disappointment. Picture this scene. It's August 1558, just 3 months prior to her death at Richmond Palace. Mary sits in her chamber, her abdomen grotesquely swollen, casting a shadow of false hope among her ladies-in-waiting. Whispers abound. Surely, the Queen is finally pregnant. But Mary knows better. This swelling is not a victorious sign. It is the painful repetition of past humiliations. She has felt this before twice. Each time, it led only to more despair, culminating in the brutal reality that God himself seemed to mock her desire for an heir. Dr. Thomas Hick, one of her physicians, enters that morning to examine her. He observes the yellowing of her skin, the peculiar bulging of her eyes, and the roughness in her voice. Yet, what he pens in his private journal reveals the grim truth. Her Majesty suffers from her old disease, worse than ever before. These 3 words, old disease, would haunt Mary until her final breath. Now, let us paint the tale of England as it stands in 1558. It is a city engulfed by despair, riddled with disease. An influenza epidemic, which began in 1557, has claimed approximately 8,000 lives in London alone. The harvests of 1555 and 1556 brought devastation, and people are starving, sick, and desperate. Tensions within the court are palpable as the specter of political change looms. Those who stood by Mary's side now eye Elizabeth, her Protestant half-sister, knowing she is the one destined to take the throne. In September 1558, Philip II of Spain, the man Mary loves with an almost tragic desperation, is in Brussels. He has not returned to her for over a year, and Mary's letters pleading for his presence go unanswered. Her heart aches with unreciprocated longing, and loneliness haunts her even in her royal chambers. Meanwhile, in Hatfield House, just 20 miles north of London, Elizabeth Tudor awaits her opportunity, the seeds of her future sown in the shadows of her sister's downfall. Courtiers, sensing the tide of fortune shift, have begun making clandestine visits to Elizabeth, abandoning the sinking ship that is Mary's reign. Mary's most trusted advisor, Cardinal Reginald Pole, is also gravely ill, suffering from a quartan fever that holds him captive. With both the Queen and her chief counselor on the brink of death, English Catholicism teeters precariously. The very values they fought to restore are destined for collapse. Return now to Mary. Her physical torture becomes more harrowing with each day that passes. October 1558 arrives, and the Queen has been moved to St. James's Palace, a choice made with good intentions, though perhaps too late. The smaller space offers some comfort and is easier to heat as winter approaches. Yet, comfort is a fleeting concept when one's household dwindles. Mary's retinue has shrunk from over 400 members to fewer than 50. Where has everyone gone? They have flocked to Hatfield, bending the knee to Elizabeth as they pledge their loyalty to the future queen, while their own queen withers away unnoticed. On October 25th, Mary's trusted lady-in-waiting, Susan Clarence, leaves under the guise of visiting her ailing mother, but she heads directly for Elizabeth, forsaking her loyalty to the dying queen. Thomas Cornwallis, Mary's controller, vanishes on November 1st. Even Dr. Hick, once devoted, begins to make secretive journeys to Hatfield. The Spanish ambassador, Count de Feria, arrives on November 9th to find a near ghost town. In his letter to Philip II, he confides the palace is nearly empty, attended only by Mary's most intimate servants, the rest having fled like thieves in the night. On November 10, 1558, 1 week before her death, Dr. Hick conducts what will be his final examination of Mary. He records a litany of symptoms that would terrify any modern physician. She is blind, having lost complete vision in both eyes, likely due to her tumor pressing against her optic nerves. As her body succumbs to decay, her fever spikes perilously, then drops to life-threatening lows, causing her extremities to turn blue. Her kidneys fail, producing almost no urine despite the massive buildup of fluid in her abdomen. Yet amidst this torment, Mary remains aware, conscious of her suffering, where Tudor medicine devoid of morphine or effective pain relief can offer nothing more than wine mixed with herbs that provide little solace. The tragedy deepens. On November 13th, as Jane Dorma, one of Mary's last confidants, holds the Queen's hand, a flicker of clarity returns. Though her eyes are sightless, Mary seems to focus on something beyond the veil of reality. She smiles, the first smile in weeks. "Do you see them?" she whispers. Inquiring about who she sees, Mary reveals, "The children." Little children like angels playing and singing. These visions could be seen as a final mercy or cruelty, perhaps born from her lifelong yearning for motherhood. Cardinal Pole, in his final days at Lambeth Palace, is experiencing his own spectral sightings. Recorded by his secretary, Nicholas Harpsfield, who noted Pole spoke of seeing a great light and hearing celestial music. Two architects of the Catholic Restoration of England, both nearing death, share similar experiences as their lives ebb. Modern medicine might interpret these phenomenons as hypoxic hallucinations, a brain's desperate response to oxygen deprivation. But for Mary, these visions take on a unique reality, a heartbreaking fantasy, allowing her to escape the depths of despair. By November 15th, just 2 days from death, Mary understands the end draws near. Despite her blindness and torment, she insists on making her final confession to Chaplain Father John Feckenham. This confession stretches 3 hours, not due to an abundance of sins, but because she fades into unconsciousness mid-sentences. When coherent, she provides excruciating details for her funeral, expressing her wish to rest beside her mother, Catherine of Aragon, and leaving instructions for masses to be said for her soul, thousands of them, even specifying the number of candles to be lit. Yet, an ironic truth hangs heavy over this moment. Everyone knows that Elizabeth, the Protestant queen, will not honor her wishes. That evening, Cardinal Pole visits one last time. He later recounts, "She knew me, though she could not see me," sharing moving details about Mary's affection for Philip. With gentleness, he evades the bitter truth of her husband's abandonment. As night settles in on November 16, 1558, Mary is administered extreme unction, the sacrament for the dying. Father Feckenham anoints her with holy oil, each touch sending waves of agony through her hypersensitive skin. Yet she makes no sound. Her suffering has become an accepted part of her reality. Finally, at 3 Father Feckenham begins to say Mass within the chamber. This ritual is atypical, normally reserved for dawn, but sensing the urgency of her condition, the priest initiates it earlier. As the Mass nears its climax, something remarkable occurs. As Father Feckenham elevates the consecrated host, the most sacred moment of the Catholic Mass, Mary, who has remained incoherent for days, suddenly responds, her voice strong and clear, reciting the Agnus Dei. Lamb of God, who takes away the sins of the world, have mercy on us. The room falls silent, stunned. It seems a miracle perhaps her health is returning. But then, those blind eyes that have seen only darkness focus on the host. A serene smile spreads across her face, one not seen in years. And then, in an instant, she slips into nothingness. There's no dramatic struggle, no rattle of death. Just a soft halt to her breath, so subtle that for several moments, no one realizes the Queen has passed. Jane Dorma, holding her hand, mistakenly thinks the Queen has merely fallen asleep. It's only when Dr. Hick checks for a pulse that the truth is unveiled. Mary Tudor, Queen of England, is dead. What follows is both practical and deeply symbolic. Sir Nicholas Throckmorton, anxiously awaiting this moment, seizes the opportunity without official confirmation. He sees the grim countenance of Dr. Hick and enters the chamber to strip Mary of the symbols of her queenship, removing the coronation ring from her still warm hand. Imagine the violation of this act, as her body hasn't even begun to cool. Throckmorton shows no reverence. There are no prayers spoken, nor eyes closed. His only task: deliver the ring to Elizabeth, and he rides hard, killing one horse in the process, as he races towards Hatfield. Meanwhile, at Lambeth Palace, Cardinal Pole's servants strive to keep the news from him, knowing it may claim his life too, but someone chooses merit over secrecy. When told of Mary's death, Pole simply states, "I shall follow her soon," and he was right, as he too succumbs just hours later. Both architects of Catholic England's restoration passing on the same day, a poignant chapter sealed in time. In the shadows of history, a narrative sealed in silence emerges, a tragic promise of motherhood lost and a kingdom forever altered. Mary Tudor's death not only signals the end of her reign but heralds the rise of Elizabeth, who stands poised to shift the very foundations of England. In the echoes of political strife and personal loss, Mary's life and death intertwine, marked by a desperate quest for legacy, faith, and the haunting reminder that even royalty can be reduced to quiet suffering.